Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. Along with my colleague Mike Veach, the racing columnist with the Saratoga, I'm Mark Cassano, welcoming you to this Alabama Day edition of the program. And over the next 55 minutes, we will be presenting you with 5 very special guests, beginning in just a moment with the meet's leading trainer, Linda Rice. She will be followed by Canadian trainer Scott Fairley, who brings in Milwaukee appeal for this afternoon's Alabama. Speaking of the Alabama, he won it 19 years ago with a great Gopher wand. Billy Badgett will join us. And finally, today is Breast Cancer Awareness Day here at Saratoga, and Susie O'Kane and Myra Biblowit will join us to talk about today's Think Pink. And along the way, we'll take a look back at a number of Alabamas from the decade of the 1990s. So all of that and more if you stay with us for this morning's August 22nd edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing and Whitehall Stable. Again, good morning on an overcast Saturday here at Saratoga, and we welcome in our first guest, who is having a truly great and possibly historic meet here at Saratoga. She leads the trainer standings with 11 victories and is winning at an unbelievable 39% win rate. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome in Linda Rice. Linda, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You had to have certain expectations coming into this meet. What were they?
Well, you know, every year we try really hard to gather up our stable for Saratoga. I mean, it's a pretty exciting meet. It's a great place to win races. It's my favorite place to win races. And but you never quite think it's going to go quite as well as it has this meet. You know, some years we get out to a slow start. Last year the weather was difficult for us the first 3 weeks, and we got off to a slow start. But things have gone well this year, and I hope I can keep it going.
And what are some of the reasons? I mean, this has been extraordinary because you said this is your favorite place to win races. It's also the most difficult place to win races, and you've won 11 of them at almost 40%. What are some of the reasons that go into making this such an extraordinary meet thus far?
Well, for me, I try to bring an abundance of opportunity with me when I come to Saratoga. You need numbers, and I do my best to gather up enough numbers and enter them pretty aggressively. You know, some horses, Tahoe Warrior, for example, things didn't go well one week. I ran him back in 5 days because I thought it was the right spot, the right distance, and it turned out great. Sometimes I'll run fillies against colts. I push the envelope a little bit, but, and I try to bring enough opportunity with me, make it happen.
Do you have enough horses, fresh horses? Do you have enough ammunition to keep this going for the second half of the meet?
Well, that is my concern. I mean, obviously I'm dealing and competing against great trainers here at Saratoga, the best in the world. And, Todd Pletcher, Karen McLaughlin, Billy Mott, they have a lot of stock standing in their barn. I'm putting it together, but it's not easy. And I hope one day that I'll have the same type of horses standing in my barn.
Years ago, I dubbed you the queen of the turf sprints. And that was not to pigeonhole you into, that's the only way you could win, because that's foolish. But it seems to me as though you found a way earlier than your male colleagues to win these races on a regular basis. Are there keys to winning turf sprints?
Well, I think that there's certain rules that apply. I oftentimes will enter more than one horse if I see a good opportunity. If it's a short field, I'll try to double my chances of winning by having 2 in it. I'll run them back on short rest because the next time it runs, it might not be on the grass. I try them out on the turf. I give them a few breezes on the grass. I can usually tell if they like it pretty quickly. And, I read the pedigree. So those things help.
Well, let's take a look at one of those turf sprint winners from last Monday. This is the Troy. We're taking a look at Awakino Cat, number 1. Linda, talk about this effort, if you would. His second victory at the meet?
Yep.
Yes, Awakino Cat obviously likes the course. And, Alan rides him great. I knew I was running him back on short rest. Alan had him sitting in the perfect spot. And I was just, my only concern was that at the quarter pole as to whether or not he could deliver the same effort he did opening week back in 18 days. If he could, we were in the right spot. and he got it done, and Alan rode a terrific race. So when you're running turf sprinters and you're a victim of the weather, I was afraid that if I passed up that race to give him more time, that I wouldn't get the opportunity to run in the grass at the end of the meet because of the weather.
Trips are important in all turf races, but they are critical in turf sprints, and you could not have designed a better journey for Al Aquino Cat.
Now, when you're running in turf sprints, there's less room for mistakes, and I do a lot of gait work, a lot of gait schooling to make sure that my horses don't give anything away at the start, because in a 5-furlong dash, there's no room for error.
He wasn't running so well in New Jersey. Is there a significant difference between, I don't know, the configuration of the course, the type of turf? Because he's won twice at the meet here.
Yes. A couple things I think were a factor. He's not fond of, and I've had many of my horses that are not keen on the chute that they've developed at Monmouth Park. They've reconfigured the course. I'm not crazy about the chute that they have. It doesn't work for me, and it hasn't been great for my horses. The other factor is the horse is high-strung, he's nervous, he's training out of Saratoga. I feel like I can run him back in short rest and get a big performance out of him when I can lead him over there, I can paddock him here, he trains here every day. Shipping to Monmouth to race, he wasn't a great shipper, and that was a factor as well.
Will he race again at the meet?
I think there's a race at the end of the meet that we may try with him, obviously, if he's coming into it well.
Well, we are about to take a look at the August 13th Statue of Liberty and the victory of Mother Russia, and she will be number 7 in here. Folks, I think this was a sensational piece of training. The reason I say that is, in her prior start going a mile on the grass at Belmont, she never settled. Here, under Ramon Dominguez, he was able to literally put her and the rest of the field to sleep, going the first 3 quarters in 13. Linda, what did you do in her training to get her to settle so much better this day?
Well, I did tell Ramon in the paddock that to just throw out her last race. Everything went poorly. She didn't come into the race well. I was regretful that I had run her the day that I did run her. She's a little rank and hard to rate. A flat mile at Belmont is a much more difficult race to rate a horse than 2 turns. You know, the 2 turns is kind of like a speed bump, and it'll slow them down and force them to rate. I knew we'd get a better result today, so I told Ramon in the paddock that trained her the day of the race, did a few things to settle her down, and so he was pretty comfortable with that.
And you had to be very comfortable the way this race developed. She looks well within herself. They're about to put up 3 quarters in 13, and really under no pressure at this point. You had to be very, very pleased.
I was. When they put up the half-mile time, 48 and 4, I knew that we were in pretty good shape. And Ramon and I had discussed, possibly covering her up with the 8 and the 9, and the race had speed. She broke very sharp. She got a little excited behind the starting gates, which really kind of wound her clock up, and he ended up inheriting the lead, which we knew was a possibility. We were considering covering her up as well. It just didn't happen.
How'd she come out of the race?
Fabulous.
Now, will there be a spot for her before the end of the meet?
I plan to run her back at the end of the meet in a New York Philly race, a mile on the turf. So.
And I think you train her for a couple of local fellas, the obviously NY stable of Rick Banis and Dave Engle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do. They're local. I've trained for them for about 4 years. I have had a great relationship with them. We've had a lot of success. Their first horse was Metro Meteor, who was a great success story, and so we've done well together.
How's all the help feel every morning when they come to the barn when you're on a streak like this?
Well, they have a terrific attitude, and they work hard every day, and when we go over there and we get results, it makes it easier for them to do it again the next day. It's a 7-day-a-week job. It's a lot of work.
I said during the intro, sensational and possibly historic meet. No female trainer has ever won the training title at the world's greatest race meet. Do you think about that at all?
No.
Are you thinking about it now?
Now that you put it that way, Mark. Now I'm concerned about it.
I mean, this is big time stuff.
It really is.
Well,
this is incredible.
I mean, sure, it's something I've thought about, and I really, unless you get real close to it, you let it. I've given it some thought, and it's an exciting possibility, but there's a lot of meat left.
Right. Well, all congratulations, first of all. This has been absolutely terrific. You mentioned the guys who are chasing you. That's not a bad group. You know, Pletcher and Mott, and, you know, this is big-time stuff. And with a lot less horses, winning at nearly 40%. All congratulations.
Thank you, Mark.
And thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Linda Rice,
Can't think of a better
ladies
way
and
to start the
gentlemen, on
program.
Alabama
Really.
Day, and we are up to our first break on this August 22nd edition of the program. Thank you so much for having joined us. When Michael and I return, we will be joined by Canadian trainer Scott Fairley, who brings in the Woodbine Oaks heroine, Milwaukee Appeal, for this afternoon's Alabama. As we go to this break, the year was 1993. The race was the Alabama. This was just a magnificent filly who unfortunately still is not in the Hall of Fame. So we'll take a look at the 93 Alabama going to the break. And Michael and I will be back with trainer Scott Fairley right after these messages.
Here in 46 and 4/5 seconds. Miss Obsession and Deputy Jane West have been together from the beginning, and Sky Beauty remains 4 lengths from the lead with a half mile to run. Fortunate Faith down to her inside, and then Silky Feather, and they're rounding the far turn. Deputy Jane West and Miss Obsession, and now there goes Sky Beauty. And Sky Beauty is streaking toward the lead as they move on the far turn. Silky Feather is just off her. It's Deputy Jane West by a head. Sky Beauty right there and confronts her as they move toward the top of the stretch. Silky Feather just off the lead, and Fortunate Faith in with a very good chance right in behind the lead as the field turns for home. Deputy Jane West here in a tangle with Sky Beauty, and the rail is opened up for Fortunate Faith as they come to the 8th hole. Deputy Jane West running a brave race today. Sky Beauty is brave as well, and she's in front. It is Sky Beauty, but here comes Future Pretense closing hard, and Silky Feather is there, and Fortunate Faith, and Sky Beauty is the leader with Future Pretense, and Sky Beauty wins the Alabama by a length and a half, and a jubilant Mike Smith. Future Pretense was second, and Silky Feather was third.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. Mike Veach to my left, I'm Mark Asano, and the Pat O'Brien goes to sensational for Bob Baffert and Victor Espinoza by 2 1/4. Baffert may now freshen him and go straight to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Our first guest this morning joined us on set several weeks ago at Saratoga. And within our conversation, I posed the following question to her. Please take a look. I said during the intro, sensational and possibly historic meet. No female trainer has ever won the training title at the world's greatest race meet. Do you think about that at all? No. Are you thinking about it now?
Now I'm concerned about it.
Well, no need to be concerned about it anymore. She did it, ladies and gentlemen, making history as the only female to ever capture the Saratoga training title. She joins us live this morning from New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda Rice. Linda, congratulations and welcome back to Down the Stretch.
Thank you very much.
Way to go, Linda.
Well,
Exciting.
Way to go.
how...
The good news was you did not put the whammy on me.
No, of course.
On the show. I was very glad to see that.
You're kidding me. After we had you on, you want everything in sight. Listen, how's it feel to have made history?
I tell you, it was probably after the hopeful was finished was probably the greatest moment in racing for me in my professional life, and it was really remarkable feeling. And probably the most amazing thing was the support of the fans and the horse racing community.
Yes.
They were so supportive, and they were genuinely just happy for me. And I can't remember a day that I have had such a great feeling in my business.
That's fantastic. Linda, as our audience watches your 20th victory, the one that put you over the top, with Gentle Ride on the final, this was on Rachel's day, this was the last race. She won twice for you at the meet. Talk to our audience about what were some of the keys to your incredible meet at Saratoga?
Well, I feel like General Ride. I had started her at Belmont a few times before we went to Saratoga, and I had it in the back of my mind that she just wasn't quite good enough for the maiden special weight ranks. I also thought that she would improve significantly at 5.5 on the Saratoga course versus 6 furlongs at Belmont, and I wasn't wrong. That was the case. So she was able to make 2, good efforts there and was pretty effective at Saratoga. We had other horses. I was constantly wrestling around with which races were going, which ones were going short, going long, whether we were able to run an entry. One was on the also eligibles, one was in the body of the race, make sure I had an MTO in the race that was an effective MTO instead of something that was just going to make the course. And so it was quite the battle at the entry box, but it worked out in my favor, and there were a few horses that, I think Thursday we had 2 horses that I thought were had good chances to win. We were 2nd and 4th with troubled trips. But then on Friday we won 2, on Saturday we won 2, and on Sunday and Monday I had quite a few horses in, but I knew that I was very much an outsider in every race, and so I thought we were probably going to, at best, come away with a tie.